the sports one. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we're back.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Port here on a Monday. It's Barnes, it's Michael. Tony working his way back from Staten Island. How you doing, sir? Been a while since we've had the Magic Combo.
Dude, doing great. How you doing?
Great weekend, other than the Yankees, which we'll get to. Unfortunately, the first time really all season that I've definitely gotten, just pretty pissed, I guess, to sum it up, and just kind of embarrassed. But like I said, we'll get to that. But don't want that to overshadow a great weekend and a great day yesterday. I sent you guys a couple videos, but, at my sister's in Massachusetts, and had a great time with my nephews over there and my godson, Patrick. What a good job he was doing. The golf club, the batting practice, throwing the football, the basketball. You would agree, Michael, it's just one of those things that's just meant to be, that my godson would be just so into every single sport. I mean, is that not like the most meant to be thing you've ever heard?
No, it really is. And I said it last night, and I mean it. He has a better swing than you already.
No, and it's crazy, the aggression on the golf swing, though.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. He gets so jacked up. It's awesome to see that. So I had a great time. Had a nice lobster cookout yesterday. It had been a while since I had lobster, so that was really good as well.
It's crazy how lobster is like an expensive food now, when it was like the poorest. It used to be for poor people.
I wonder, like, what? I mean, I guess it's marketing, but you think there's something to, like, the regulations, the lobster pots, the process. That stuff must be expensive. I'm getting, like, you know what I mean? You don't get to a high price for nothing. Like, I feel like there is a lot of probably costs on that to get a lobster into a position to sell one.
Yeah.
You would think, anyway.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, it is kind of crazy. But they were saying, I forgot where they go to get them. I don't even know if it was like ShopRite or something, but I think they said they got 10 lobsters at like $9.50 a piece. I mean, that's not really too bad. I mean, when you think lobster, like, you're thinking about going out to a restaurant, right, and it's like, $60-$70 for the dinner. But yeah, it's tough too. And I kind of go through this with seafood, because I forget, do you like seafood, or
yeah,
like all of it, or like, is it like certain things?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try it all. Will I do I like it all? No.
Yeah, but I mean, do you like a me and Matthew, like a Damar, like where you have like the clams, the calamari all mixed in with like the pasta marinara sauce? Like, do you? Like
that? I
I
could do that.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I don't know if you agree with this. So it's like, I kind of like get annoyed with the whole like deshelling process, but at the same time, I feel like it's like one thing or the other. Like, if they deshell it for you, then it probably doesn't taste as fresh. So I guess it's worth it, right? Like, that's the whole mindset behind it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I usually, just eat, get the shell and remove it.
Yeah. Well, no, and like the lobster, like doing that, it's kind of a task, honestly, because then like there's the parts you can't eat, the thin parts, which are hard to crack. But nevertheless, like really, really good. But a lot to get to, and I'm glad there's a lot to talk about with yesterday's final round of the U.S. Open. So can start off on a positive note, before we get to the debacle at Fenway Park this weekend. But let's start with our number one Yankee hater, Kev Dew, Michael.
Yes, Kev Dew in the house saying,
"Let's go!"
He wants all the smoke. Let's go, Mets. We on a streak. Yankees are on their own streak too. LMAO. Hashtag TCA. Hashtag DTV. Hashtag Sportsport. Matthew Gabriel.
Let's go! Matthew.
Good Rising fam. Josh B. Anthony Materiello.
Let's go!
Let's have a week, Josh B says. Anthony says show's great. Let's go Mets. Like nobody cares about the Mets.
No, and it's funny in a way, and I know you agree with this. Tony kind of blew it because this was his opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but there's not going to be too much mention
Tomorrow.
of the Mets.
No, nothing. Not tomorrow. No, I'm saying it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
Like today's the day.
You missed the boat, so
right.
hey,
ship has sailed. I wonder how much we cover here.
But I think honestly, like maybe he was trying to do me a favor because I just like, you know what I mean? You can't couple a bad weekend, probably the worst weekend, definitely the worst weekend of the season for the Yankees and then have like a big like Mets segment. Like that's just not going to work.
No.
You're not going to talk about it tomorrow. So I know you're saying you're going to talk about it tomorrow, Tony, but we're not allowing it.
No, sorry. Should have been today.
And
that's
honestly,
old news now, Tony.
Yeah, and I think, with these demands that he's having, I think Michael might be in your chair again tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. So a lot up for debate here, Tony. But anyway, what a U.S. Open we had at Pinehurst. The first one hosted there in 10 years. It's nice. We're not going to have to wait as long to get back there. Only 5 years in between this past weekend's U.S. Open and the next one, which of course will come in 2029. But just so back and forth. What a beautiful course and what a tough course. Can't tell you how many times, watching, these 4 days where it's like guys are in position, they hit decent shots, and that green will not hold anything. Like you need to have severe backspin, you need to have perfect placement, otherwise you're going off the green. And unfortunately, that happened with Tiger a bunch, and he missed the cut at +7. The cut ends up being +5, and then it was it was tough to see. And of course, like his round just ended. It's hard to really have like a sound mind, but Tiger kind of non-committal on this, if this would be his last, U.S. Open. But I think that was more of just like an in the moment thing. And he has already said, he will be there at Royal Troon next month for the Open Championship, which will be his last chance here, to win a major this year. Obviously seems like a long shot. And it was a shame because, a lot of times with Tiger over the years, the problem has been off the tee, and he was actually hitting a lot of fairways, very accurate with the driver. But the problem was the approach shots, the secondary shots, you're a little off there and you're going to run into an issue. And that's what happened to him. So unfortunately, yet another major championship, that doesn't feature Tiger, on the weekend, which is tough. And you hope for the comeback story. You hope for a great Open Championship, but needless to say, that's no certainty. And also too, going into this tournament, all the eyes, all the focus was on Scottie Scheffler. And of course he was my pick, to win this week. He makes the cut on the number. But just has the worst week that I've really seen him pretty much ever play. And at the end of the 4 days here for Scheffler, and I had this pulled up, but I believe it was 42nd that he finished, which, you look at him every time and, he's religiously in the top 10, but 41st. So he finishes 41st, goes 71, 74, 71, 72. So every round for Scottie Scheffler this week over par. He had the longest birdieless streak of his career at 27 holes, which is very un-Scottie Scheffler like. And that kind of leads to my next point. So like I said, all the focus on Scottie Scheffler, and I think, we were guilty of, and I know on Friday with Tony, we were talking about revised predictions and guys that, we could see winning. And I did mention his name. But I just think all of us as a whole, we're sleeping on Bryson DeChambeau. He was the round one leader at the Masters, ends up finishing tied for 4th. He just misses out in a playoff at the PGA, finishing 2nd. So he definitely had, some momentum going into this tournament. Got off on the right foot here, shooting 67 on Thursday, 69 on Friday, 67 on Saturday, and 1 over was good enough yesterday to win the United States Open. And it's funny, our good friend, Michael Buck, always calling out the iconic name and usually talking about broadcasters. But that shot that Bryson had on 18, after he's blocked out, he's in the native area, he hits it short of the green, and he's 55 yards out with a bunker with the green elevated in front of him. And we know the slope of these greens where the ball just will fly off. And the fact that he was able to get that to 3.5 feet with a chance to win the Open, and just the fact his putting, how far he's come with the putter. And I had talked about that, going to the cross grip. And, of course, when you think Bryson DeChambeau, you always think about his long drives. And the fact that he was able to really tune up that putting, especially this week, and make that putt there to win the U.S. Open by his second U.S. Open. And it's amazing how quick it's turned for Bryson. Obviously, had that win in 2020 at Winged Foot for his first U.S. Open, then kind of tapered off, and especially the beginning of his live tenure didn't go well. But there was a caddy change and some changes to his game. And ever since last year, I think he shot a 58 at one of the live golf events. He's just been absolutely on fire. And you really love to see it, because I think, Bryson at first, when he came onto the scene, and even when he won his first U.S. Open, not a lot of people were big fans of Bryson DeChambeau. Kind of you heard stuff like, oh, he's kind of like an outlier, kind of a weirdo, the stuff he says, that the cap that he wears, but he's really transformed himself to a very likable golfer, and just engaging with the crowd. You don't see that as much. Sure, guys are pumped up, they win tournaments, but this was all week with the fans, and he shouted them out after his win. And I've always said this, and I say it a lot about broadcasters, but definitely, works with, athletes in general, just people, that are into it, that are fired up, that are showing emotion. I'm always going to appreciate that. So he really has been a treat to watch. Just remarkable how he's transformed himself to not only have a great game off the tee, but the fact that he's great around the greens as well. And that bunker shot will be one that's going to be replayed over and over and over again. So definitely, congratulations to Bryson. And it's interesting too, since this whole thing started, with the live golf and how these guys, were going to do, in the major championships. I think there was a lot of doubt, that these guys could contend, the schedules being different, not being as sharp. And obviously we've seen how, how that's affected Tiger, not being able to play as many tournaments. But I think we've really learned, over these few years here, that, it's not all about that. Sure. I mean, that definitely helps, but if you have a strong enough golf game, I mean, it's going to show, and especially at a track like Pinehurst, you have to be a really talented golfer, and we all know that's what Bryson is. That was just a big win. His world ranking has shot up. I think to start this year, he was like 43rd. He's now down to 10th. It's hard to not like him, like his chances here at the Open. And I know, we felt like prisoner of the moment type of scenario here with like, oh, when Scotty won the Masters, oh, then he's going to win the PGA, but then Xander wins. And I don't know if we really thought Xander was going to win this US Open, but he nevertheless finishes in the top 10. It's interesting, we haven't had a multiple time major winner in the same season since Brooks back in 2019. So it's definitely, it's been a while. But I think you definitely have to like his chances. He's just so consistent. And that's really what it is, with golf. He also made some history here. He's just the fourth player in history to win a U.S. Amateur and multiple U.S. Open championships. And who does he join? Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods. So anytime that you're mentioned, with those names, I mean, obviously you're a legend of the game. And he joins a list here of multiple time, U.S. Open winners. You have Bobby Jones, Jack Nicklaus, Willie Anderson, Ben Hogan, Hal Irwin, Tiger Woods, Walter Hagen, Kerry Middlecoff, Julius Boros, Brooks Koepka, Billy Casper, Curtis Strange, Andy North, Ernie Els, Alex Smith, John McDermott, Lee Trevino, Lee Jansen, Retief Goosen, Payne Stewart, and Gene Cesarin, Ralph Gadoli. And just to give you an idea too, it was kind of ironic with Payne Stewart all week. He was playing with a pin, on his shirt and also on the 18th flag because Payne had won the U.S. Open in 1999 at Pinehurst. There was a picture of him, so it was just kind of ironic, the connection there. He definitely paid tribute to Payne Stewart. That's why he wears that cap on his head in tribute to him. Just the fact that he's able to win this because Payne, 1999, he wins that U.S. Open and then unfortunately dies in the plane crash later that year. That was kind of one of those sad stories. So nice to see someone pay tribute. And like I said, I think it's just remarkable how he's transformed not only his game, but his image. They even had him on the NBC broadcast. So he's just become very likable, and he's shown that, you can succeed in golf, without being on the PGA Tour. He's a perfect example of that. And we thought we saw that with Brooks Koepka, but, he had a, good year last year, has struggled this year. So Bryson kind of looking to maintain this and, being that he's in his late 20s, you would imagine he'll be a force for years to come. But obviously the big story here is the choke job of Rory McIlroy. Had a 2-shot lead on the back 9 here. And also too, I mean, let's face it. I mean, nothing says it more than this. And despite shooting, 1 under Saturday and Sunday, which at this course is very good. All the golfers that were over par. But let's face it, 2 out of the last 3 holes, he had 5-foot putts or less that he missed. And the last one was a 2.5-foot putt. And I know, these greens are tough. But the fact is, he makes both of those putts, which he really should make. And I understand the break is tough, but inside of 5 feet, I mean, you're a professional golfer. You should be making those putts. I mean, almost every time. The fact that he missed them, you really made you feel like that, this might be it. Like he might not be able to get back to this point, because how many times you're going to get so close and not be able to close the deal. And I know he is a 4-time major champion, but it's been 10 years since he's won a major, and to collapse like that, he left right after his round was complete and, didn't talk to the media. And the fact is, he makes both of those putts. He is the U.S. Open champ. So it really gives you perspective on how bad that was. And it's just, you have to wonder, how he recovers from this. And obviously, he'll get an opportunity next month at Royal Troon. But I'm sure it's going to be tough for his head to be in the right place. I really, because it was interesting. I was driving back from Massachusetts. So I actually heard the call on the radio. And I really was getting the feeling like, wow, Rory's going to do it. And I just could not believe, 3-foot putts. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It just really feels like it's like the worst like collapse that I've ever seen. And that's saying something. And, everybody thinks about John Van de Velde way back at the Open Championship, how he needed a double bogey to win. And he got a triple bogey and then, had to roll up his pants because he had to hit a ball over water and end up losing, had to retire. And that seems crazy, but I swear this was at least at the same level. So really, surprising to see that. And it's going to be interesting to see what lies ahead for Rory McIlroy. Tony Finau, a tie for third here. He had a great week. He went 68, 69, 72, 67. So a strong performance in a major. We haven't seen him get a top 5 in a while. And speaking of getting a top 5 in a while at a major, Patrick Cantlay with a strong performance here. He was tied with Tony Finau for third. He went 65, 71, 70, 70. So a good performance out of him, a guy that's, they're both in the top 20 here and really looking to obviously, add that first major championship to the resume. Matthew Pavone had an opportunity to win this over the weekend. He has to settle for a 5th place finish. He was +1 yesterday and -3 for the tournament. 67, 70, 69, 71. Hideki Matsuyama finishes 6th. We had seen him struggle recently but he went 72-66 on Friday, and then an even par round on both Saturday and Sunday. And Russell Henley, so that's why I was thinking Sunley. Russell Henley finishes tied 7th with last month's PGA champion Xander Schauffele, 70, 72, 67. Schauffele goes 70, 69, 72, 68. Sam Burns, Davis Thompson, Corey Connors tie for 9th. Sergio Garcia, who had to get into this tournament, obviously being on live and doesn't have any type of exemption anymore for the majors, got in out of qualifier, and the best finish we've seen out of him in a major in a while, finishing tied for 12th with Ludwig Aubert, a guy that we thought would be around in contention yesterday, but unfortunately struggled on the weekend after starting out great, 66-69, but finishes 73-73. So 1 over for this tournament. Nevertheless, his first season of major championships and another top finish here, tied for 12th. You had Colin Morikawa finished tied for 14th with Thomas Dietrich at +2. Further down the list here, we had Brooks Koepka, and I have to say I was surprised by this. Didn't think he was going to win this tournament, but I thought he would be in the conversation, and had a decent round on Thursday, and actually was a few under, but struggled late to an even par 70, but then follows that up with 75, 71, 70, and actually had a congratulations tweet out there for Bryson DeChambeau. And it's kind of funny because a couple of years ago, those guys were really butting heads, to say the least. Neil Shipley was the top amateur. Again, after receiving that honor at the Masters, he was tied for 26th. That's pretty much, the summary of this tournament. I mean, Jordan Spieth makes the cut here, but +8. So obviously out of contention. And I mentioned Scotty, very surprising, tied for 41st. And, it's interesting. He is in the field, this week, for the Travelers Championship, over at TBC River Highlands, but obviously has played a lot of golf recently, won the Memorial, the tournament before. So wouldn't be surprised maybe if he withdraws, but he also could just hang in there and then sit out at least 2 events before maybe doing a tune-up at the Scottish Open before we head to the Open Championship in a little less than a month. So that'll be great. And something that didn't surprise me, last year's U.S. Open champ, Wyndham Clark, who since winning at Pebble Beach has struggled, tied for 56 +12. And then Matthew Fitzpatrick won a couple years ago at Brookline, tied for 64th +13, including a 79 on Saturday. So that's obviously tough. And I do see, we have some comments. So let's get to those, Michael.
Let's do it, baby. Tony, the Turtle Shell Greens. I would have made that putt. Paul Materiello says the Yankees suck. Mary Materiello says big Finau guy. Tony adds Riley Souza. Those pesky socks.
Oh my God.
Isn't he disgusting?
Really is.
He's embarrassing himself.
Yeah,
just like the Celtics did
we'll
last
talk
game.
to it. We'll talk about it.
LOL Riley, of course. Tony joining forces with the enemy whenever it helps him out.
Oh, of course.
Easily, you could bet on that happening. Most joy Riley has had all baseball season. That's right, Josh. He's a loser.
Oh man. And that being said, let's go to the world of Major League Baseball.
What a play! Stop it, Tony. Yep. And Alonso cracks one. The Mets win the ball game. Out of sight.
And it works at 100 miles an hour. 14 strikeout.
Throw deep to left field. There it goes. See ya.
Let's talk some MLB.
All right. So obviously, at the end of the day, a tough weekend for the Yankees, which got off to a great start. I mean, you had a nice 8-1 victory on Friday night, but unfortunately, that was followed up by an 8-4 loss Saturday, a 9-3 loss last night, which we'll get to. So like I said, it was the first time, this season that I was really disappointed with a series that they had, and just you just saw some things that need to be corrected. But we'll get to it, and you don't give in to the Kev do or the Riley chirps. We're not going to do that. But let's start with the positive here. So on Friday, Luis Gil, as he's done all season long, answering the bell here. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, but 6 strikeouts. So he labors through 5 innings to get his 9th victory of the season, leading the American League with a 2.03 ERA. So I thought, for his first start at Fenway Park, a place that's difficult to pitch, and obviously Carlos Rodon and Marcus Stroman found that out rather quickly on Saturday and Sunday. I thought that was a very positive sign there. And fortunately for the Yankees, that night, the bullpen did the job. You had 2 big outs from Tommy Kahnle, 4 outs from Caleb Ferguson, 2 outs from Victor Gonzalez, and Mike Tonkin shutting the door there to get the last 4 outs. So that was all good and well. And the Yankees had a lot of success against Brian Bayo. We had talked about before the season started that questionable extension that he was given while he's still under arbitration. He only goes 4 2/3, gives up 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, but 5 overall, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. And in terms of the Yankee offense, it was kind of ironic. We just talk about things being, meant to be and stuff. But Alex Verdugo, his first game back at Fenway Park, first pitch, homering to center, obviously to a chorus of boos there, but that gave Yankees 2-0 lead. The Yankees take advantage of the Red Sox poor fielding, scoring on an error in the 4th to make it 3-0. And Gil would give 1 back in the 4th to Valdez, on a double to score Rafi Devers. So that made it 3-1. But fortunately for the Yankees, Verdugo, another big hit, a double to score Anthony Volpe, made it 4-1. A Rizzo single made it 5-1. And then the Yankees are able to add 3 more runs in the 9th. A Jose Trevino homer to left center made it 6-1. A Judge double made it 7-1. And then another Verdugo hit made it 8-1. So it was an 8-1 victory. The Yankees' 50th victory of the season. They became the first team this year to 50 wins. We talked about Verdugo, 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs. So really, showing up in a spot that, he wanted some revenge. I mean, things just didn't end right there in Boston for whatever reason. There was some back and forth between him and Alex Cora. But he's done a great job for the Yankees. Unfortunately, that was the peak of enjoyment for us Yankee fans this weekend. You were on to Saturday, and I was really surprised that Carlos Rodon struggled the way he did, giving up 3 runs in the first inning, 5 runs overall. So the final line for Rodon, who I think had won, 7 straight starts, was only 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. So the ERA rising to 3.28. In the first inning, an O'Neill double, a Wong single, a Westbrook double. So the Red Sox had a lot of success these 2 games on Saturday and Sunday with contact, not a lot of power, but you don't need it if you're getting a lot of hits. This game, they got 12 hits. They were 6 for 15 with runners in scoring position, which is over 333, which is obviously very good. So you were down 3-0 after the first. DJ LeMahieu finally getting a big hit here. A 2-run single cut the lead to 3-2. Unfortunately, though, who else but Rafi Devers, who just kills the Yankees every time they play him, had a double to score former Yankee Rob Refsnyder and Tyler O'Neill. So that made it 5-2 after 2. And then no offense for the next 4 innings before the 7th inning, where Juan Soto hits a home run to center. They had to review it. Just went over the line there, over the monster. So that was his first home run since coming back from the injury, his 18th home run of the season. What a season he's had. So that cut the lead to 5-3. Other than that, you had a Valdez single to make it 6-3. LeMahieu able to bring a run in on a fielder's choice, made it 6-4. But the Red Sox adding 2 more in the 8th to really put this one away. A Duran single, scoring Rafaela, and then Jose Trevino, who had the worst catching defensive weekend that I've ever seen in my life. So he makes that mistake and then was the star of the mistakes in last night's game. But just finishing up this game here, what really did the Yankees in, obviously Rodon, starting out on the wrong foot. But runners in scoring position, they had the bases loaded here. We'll talk about it in a second, but last night, another bases loaded situation that they completely botch. But 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, 9 left on base. And I think the biggest thing is the guys that we know on this team who are really past their better days, are killing us because they're just pretty much an automatic out every time they're up. And obviously we're talking about Rizzo, we're talking about Glaber, we're talking about LeMahieu. And even though Stanton had 2 hits in this game, he kind of falls into that category. Had a terrible game last night. And, it just seems like every single time he's up, that he strikes out. And you can't have that. That's for sure. So it was just frustrating to see them, not execute. That's for sure. You got to get hits with runners in scoring position. I'm sure some changes will be made to correct that. And, we'll talk more about that in last night's game, where we saw the Yankees, unfortunately, really just, at the end of the day, let's face it, embarrass themselves here. 9-3, they lose to the Red Sox. And you think about the Red Sox, obviously one of those classic, original teams. They broke a franchise record stealing 9 bases. And that's not an error. They stole 9 bases. Only 1 caught stealing, and it wasn't even Trevino throwing down to second. It was Stroman feeling a Ref Snyder taking off early, so he does, barely pick him off. But it's just, and after making the error on the throw in Saturday's game, Trevino also threw one away in this game to score a run as well. And it's just like, I know he's going to play in more games this season. He's caught the majority of games for the Yankees this year. And I thought his arm was okay. And I don't know if this is just lingering effects of that wrist injury last year. But I just don't see how you could put him at catcher. I would like to, the Yankees are off today, and then they will have a 3-game set in Baltimore, Tuesday to Thursday. But I would like to see Trevino bench for this entire series. I've just never seen a team where they just take off every pitch and there's nothing you could do about it. You make errors on half the throws. You don't throw the ball half the time. And we're talking about a guy, and listen, I know the big thing with him was, blocking balls, framing percentage, all of that stuff. But he won a platinum glove just 2 years ago. That's the best overall fielder in the game. And you're going to let the Red Sox just run ragged like that. And it's just one of those things that I don't have any patience for. If you can't, stop another team from just stealing every base every single time, and then you're not throwing half the time, you can't be our catcher. It's that simple. And it just makes me feel like there's no room for debate. And it's unfortunate for him because he did have a home run in this game and his bat has been really solid. But this is, I would say, to the level of what Gary Sanchez was with the pass balls. It's the same exact thing. You can't have the crucial mistakes. And listen, if he's on his game and is an acceptable, starting level catcher, maybe they have a chance to win this game, maybe not. But they definitely don't allow 9 stolen bases. I just could not believe that. And it's just, we all know, how much I watch these games in detail. And it's interesting. I would like to go to the comments here. Josh B says, he was talking about the frenemy with Riley, but then he says, all that is not on Jose. A lot of it is on Stroman. Let's not put this all on Jose. I kind of think it is, Josh. And I understand that Stroman is slower to the plate. And obviously he had that recognition to pick off Ref Snyder on that one play. But I just think the fact that there was at least 4 attempts where he's not even throwing the ball. he just does not have an arm. And I really question if that would happen to any other catcher in the major league to that level, to allow 9 stolen bases. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear about a slow delivery, and they still were running once they went to the bullpen. So they were still taking off after that. And it's just I guess it's as simple as saying that Jose Trevino doesn't have an arm anymore. Because that was embarrassing. That, to me, last night was the lowest part of the season for the Yankees. And that's saying something, because you're talking about a team that has won more than double their amount of losses, 50 and 24, even after dropping 2 out of 3 here. And I can't believe it. And it's like, I know, they see someone Stroman, but there's pitch outs, there's throwovers, there's stuff that you can combat it. But I think it comes down to, if you can't throw a runner out stealing second, and then the fact too that they could just take third base at Liberty, and you're going to make an error on the throws. No. You don't belong in the major leagues. And I understand he's helped the pitchers a lot with his framing, but I still just think, and of course this has to be a nationally broadcast game. So, sure, other teams are paying attention here. And obviously the Yankees, with all their wins that they've had this season, everybody's paying attention to the Yankees. They're going to try to replicate this. They're going to try to take chances on doing this. And you think about the Orioles. I mean, they have some guys who can run: Mullins, Gunnar Henderson. We're not going to win that series if they're going to steal 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bases. So that's why I just think, let's just give Jose a series off, work on some things, because this has to be corrected. There's no doubt about it. And that was so infuriating. And Josh, continuing here, disagree. It's on both. He just won a platinum glove, like you said. Now he doesn't belong in the league. But like I said, Josh, I mean, just talk to me though about the fact that he couldn't throw one runner out, and you could talk about the delivery, but the fact that he couldn't throw one out of, I mean, what did he make? 5 throws, if that, 4 throws. That you can't make one of those throws, and the fact that it still happens after Stroman's out of the game. I just think that's indefensible. And I just have to think that you would have been able to throw a couple runners out if you're any other catcher in the league. And I just don't think we can move forward with that type of liability behind the plate. I literally could not believe it. And you look at some of these numbers here. Hamilton had 4 steals himself. So then he says, so that's it. 1 game, bench. I think he's saying done with him. That's drastic. LOL. But I mean, was that not, Josh, the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen? I know at the very least, that was by far the most embarrassed I've felt this year. It's just completely insane. I just couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it, to be honest. And I guess my question to you would be, so if you move forward with Trevino, and I know other guys will be quicker to the plate, I mean, what's the solution? How do you fix that? I mean, I know you could do pitch outs, but I question, even if you do a pitch out, if you could throw the guy out at second base. I mean, it was that bad. So it'll be interesting to see what the response is here. I think the off day comes at a good time, because we'll get to it. But the bullpen did a terrible job in this one. And then the scenario with the bases loaded, nobody outs, that was one of the worst performances that I've seen this season. That's for sure. But to give you a scoring synopsis here, first inning, Aaron Judge, homer over the monster, gave the Yankees a 1-0 lead. And that was the only lead of the game, unfortunately. Stroman had a good first inning. Second inning, gives up a single to Rafaela, who had back-to-back 3-hit games. A guy who's hitting like 220, younger player, trying to get his feet wet. Really impressed in this series. So that gave the Red Sox, that was a 2-run single. So it was 2-1. Devers hits into a double play, but scores Hamilton to make it 3-1. 5th inning, he hits a sac fly to make it 4-1. Yankees do, answer back there in the 6th with a Jose Trevino homer. That cuts the deficit to 4-2. Volpe scores on a wild pitch to make it 4-3. And then you have, Devers with a single in the 7th to score Duran to make it 5-3. And the biggest difference in the game, just backing up a second here, and I want to say this was the 7th inning, but I will double check this. But short of the story, the Yankees have the bases loaded and nobody out. So bases loaded, nobody out. Gleyber Torres, not even just that it's a bases loaded, nobody out. Gleyber Torres has a 3-0 count on him. And he decides to automatically just take the next 2 pitches, which are fastballs right down the middle, doesn't swing, and then chases a sweeper. So this guy, Zach Kelly, I think they said his ERA with runners on was like 0.95. So he strikes out Gleyber, embarrassing at bat for Gleyber. I don't know how you don't lay off. That pitch it wasn't even a strike to begin with. I know the bottom dropped out of it, but it started out so low, it wasn't going to be a strike anyway. Jose Trevino swipes out in the sweeper, and then LeMahieu comes up, hits the ball well, but it's a line drive right at center field. And that was the difference in the game. You were down 1 run, and you couldn't even tie the game with like a sac fly or something. You strike out twice. Terrible pitch recognition, and Gleyber, he's been frustrating to watch all season long. That's for sure. So, after the Red Sox tack went on, all right. I mean, it's still 5-3, but unfortunately, Luke Weaver runs into some trouble. A Connor Wong triple really, blows this game open. 7-3, scoring Ref Snyder and Devers. The Red Sox tack on 2 more runs there, in the 8th inning. And the Yankees, unfortunately, in the 9th only get Oswaldo Cabrera's single. So they lose this game 9-3. Anthony Rizzo on actually it was during that inning where the Yankees don't score with the bases loaded. He gets injured running to first base, is going to have tests on his arm, his wrist, landed on it, was down on the ground for a couple minutes. So that's one of those things, obviously, just from a human and health perspective, you wish Anthony Rizzo well, but you would imagine he's going to miss some time. And then, being realistic here, that probably, of course, it depends who's getting the playing time instead, but you would think no matter who it is, really, that's just going to be a blessing for the Yankees, because Rizzo has been putrid this year, to say the least, hitting in the 220s, making mental errors in the field, and not really coming up clutch at all. 1 homer since the beginning of May. So you would imagine, you're going to see LeMahieu at first, Oswaldo Cabrera at 3rd, and then probably bring up somebody like Oswald Peraza, to come in. He could play multiple positions in the infield as well. But yeah, I just feel like overall, a terrible weekend. And I think it just opens your eyes for something, because not only do you need to fix the scenario with the catching, but the bullpen. I mean, I really would like to get Mason Miller from the A's, and I know that's going to take a lot. And you might have to give up, a top prospect like Spencer Jones, who Josh had mentioned, maybe a Jones sighting, and that would be great. But I think still in Double-A, probably still a ways away. I just think whatever it takes, because Clay, I think too, if you could have him be the setup guy, I would just feel better about that. I know he's had a pretty good year, but I don't know. I just think he's just too shaky at times, despite good numbers. So I would like Mason Miller and another reliever, because really, when you look at this bullpen, I mean, who's been the consistent guy? Michael Tonkin has been pretty good. Other than that, I mean, everybody else has got hit on pretty good. Luke Weaver was great, but we've started to use him more. His ERA has risen. It seems like every appearance he's giving up runs. Caleb Ferguson, despite striking out 4 on Saturday, his ERA is 5.16. Tommy Canley missed a lot of time with injury. His ERA is 4.50. Ian Hamilton's ERA is 4.55. So you just need, more solid names in the bullpen. Marinaccio, limited time, has been great. But that's something that I would like to see addressed sooner. Obviously, you could try with some guys in the minors, and Gomez has been up at times this year as well. But I just think something needs to be done to shore up that bullpen, because I don't have confidence there. Obviously Rizzo will be out of the lineup for a bit here, and Jason Dominguez, I guess it's just precautionary, but like had some discomfort in his side on a check swing, so we were getting excited for him to make his major league debut this year, but he's on the 7-day injured list in the minors. So for as good as their record is, there definitely are some things that need to be sorted out, which I'm confident that they will be. And Josh continues here saying the Red Sox always find a way to embarrass the Yankees in some way every year, ever since 04. And I think, we've seen them have good series, at the park, of course, at Fenway Park. But I still just think that, these are things like I said, the base stealing, other teams are going to try to do that, and I just want to protect against that. So, I am interested to see what the plan is, in this Orioles series, which will get underway tomorrow. First game, you're going to see Nestor Cortez and Albert Suarez. Suarez has only pitched 44 and 2/3 innings this season, 1.61 earned run average. So, obviously it's had success. Nestor's been great at home. ERA, I think, is still around 2 at home, despite 359 overall. So, you'd expect a good outing from him. And obviously the Yankees, I think it was like they lost 3 out of 4 in Baltimore earlier this year. So not only 9-10 in the AL East. So this is just a series, you want to seize control of. Baltimore only has 3 less wins than you. And like I said, they have some guys that can run. So I mean, at the very least, like let's start Austin Wells for the first game. That's for sure. Right-handed pitcher on the mound, so perfect if you're going righty lefty here. And we'll see who they bring up for Anthony Rizzo. But it's good. I think it's good that there's an off day. It's good that we're going back home. But it's just one of those things you always have to keep perspective here. And not get ahead of ourselves and not think that, they're in for a world of trouble. It's just kind of a thing. Okay, these are things that we need to think about, things that we need to button up. And I think that's exactly what the Yankees are going to do. We're going to do some picks for tonight in a frenzy. But before we do that, I was just kind of curious. I know that Zach's a big Mets fan. Obviously, sweeps are great. I know you've been very, downtrodden on the Mets. I mean, did this weekend do anything for you?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I think just because we're turning it around, guys are hitting now. Guys that are supposed to be hitting are hitting, which is really my thing. I just want to see Alonso and Lindor, McNeil. I want to see them perform, because they really haven't, especially stepping up in bigger situations. Yesterday, we went down late, and then everybody seemed to be able to pick it up late. It was like, I think we went down, or no, not down rather, but we were up 7-2, and then the 8th inning, it was 7-6. So it kind of got ugly there with the pitching. We were able to turn it around. Guys got hits when they needed to. So I felt like that's kind of what we were lacking, is that ability to kind of turn it around when things get sort of ugly. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way we've been playing. Especially, I feel like we've come such a long way since the end of May.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like we're turning it around. Are we, at our peak? I don't know, but I feel like we're like definitely putting our foot in the right direction. So
yeah. And I mean, I think JD Martinez has been on fire, which has been good, and then also I think Tyler McGill has looked pretty good.
Also, haven't they won their last 10?
No, but what is it, like 10 out of 14 or so? Or
the Mets
11 out of 14, something like that.
I mean, I honestly did. I thought they were going to play like this to start the year.
Let's see. So it's 3. So it's 6 out of 7. And then it's also 9 out of is it 9 out of 10? Let's see. So 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 6, and then 5 in a row. Yeah, so I guess it's 9 out of 11 that they've won. which is pretty good. And at one point, I think it was 10 games under 500.
Now they're
Now
five.
they're only 4 under
4.
500. But also, I mean, I'm interested to see how they play against the Rangers. Rangers haven't been good this year, but I know that ballpark, the Mets starting pitchers, I question, if they're going to give up a decent amount of runs, like Severino starting tomorrow. We've seen him have a good year, but we've seen also, a lot of runs, be had at that park. And also to the Padres. I mean, you think about two of these series, obviously you had the split in London with the Phillies and you did good against the Nationals, but Marlins are terrible. I mean, you won 2 out of 3. And then the Padres are, I think, the most underwhelming team in the league, just in terms of like, they look so good, but then they look so bad. So it's just like, did you catch them at the right time? So Texas needs some wins in the worst way. So it'll be interesting to see how they do there. And who knows, that could be, part of our baseball frenzy. But if you would, Michael, are you able to strike up the music?
I'm able to. Just give me one. Is it?
No, that's
No.
a flip. It should be. I mean, you would think Tony would have it labeled, but you never know with Tony.
Yeah, especially Tony.
Frenzy, something, baseball tonight, something like that. I mean, if not, we could go without the music. But.
Well, I could get it up, but I'm just seeing if it's on the board. He's at NHL.
That's NHL. So
Yeah.
I feel like it should be right around there. You would.
I know you would think it'd be, and we have Masters with the Bulls song. Like, do you want to do with that? Like,
should we?
I mean, that's a little different.
I feel like just because we haven't heard it.
We haven't heard it in a while.
So a baseball frenzy without the New York Yankees. My favorite thing. No, it's all right though. So
They need the day off to
they
just be like, yo, we're
regroup.
assholes. We took them for granted. Let's come back.
And let's make a statement against the Orioles. So looking at these games, the first thing that sticks out to me, we were just talking about it. The Padres, they get swept by the Mets. Do they have an answer? Unfortunately for them, they're playing the Phillies, who have been one of the best teams in the major leagues. Former Yankee Randy Vasquez on the hill, 493 earned run average against Cesar Sanchez. He's got a 307. So I just think the Phillies have been hot. Padres have not stepped up when they needed to. So I think this gets ugly quick. So I like this for my first selection. It's going to be hot in Philly, up to 92 degrees today. So I think the ball should be flying out of that ballpark. So this is a game I think the Phillies win easily. We've seen that Padre offense being consistent. Only 1 run in each of the first 2 games against the Mets before 6 yesterday. So give me the Phillies here. I'm going to say 8-2. So that means that we're going with the Phillies and the just over, because the over is 9.5. So pick one, Phillies and the over. Now we go to pick two, and I have to go with, and we haven't talked about them too much just because Pittsburgh, they're not in contention, they're under 500, but Paul Skeens has been a revelation for them, the former top draft pick, hitting over 100 miles an hour on the radar gun, 3-0, 2.43. Pirates minus 190 favorite on the money line here. And the Reds, 3 games under. We know about Ellie De La Cruz. Spears has done a good job in limited action for Cincinnati. But I think Skeens is going to be too much. And I think we're going to see O'Neal Cruz, who's had a disappointing season here after missing a lot of time with injury last year, hitting 2 home runs. And I think the Pirates are going to win this one 5-0. Skeens, 7 innings, 12 strikeouts, moving to 4-0 on the season. So it's the Pirates and it's the under. Leading up to our final selection here. And you know what? And listen, I know this is going to seem like a shot at the Mets because they obviously did have a great weekend. But you got John Gray versus David Peterson. And would it not be so Met-like after a great performance, over the weekend to go on the road, to go to Texas, Peterson to get lit up like a Christmas tree to a Ranger team that won the World Series last year, is 5 games under now. You have 2 former Mets working their way back into DeGrom and Scherzer. And would they not just get completely embarrassed tonight? And I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Rangers will hit the over themselves, and I think it's a shutout. I think it's 12 0
Wow.
Rangers. How quickly the tides can turn here. Peterson not making it through 1 inning.
That would be hilarious.
And you know that the Materiellos aren't watching because there would be a million comments by now.
It's going to be hilarious if that happens, because then it's like that's what he's going to have to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but it was still a great weekend. But yeah, it's the Rangers and it's the over. And I hope that the Yankees, make use of this off day here, get things together, and get things moving.
Breaking news,
in the right
though.
direction.
You'll like it.
Breaking news.
Just in, SEC's head of crypto asset enforcement division, after 9 years, David Hirsch bids farewell. People are looming, ecstatic that the case will be closing soon between SEC and XRP. Let's go, Barnes.
Riled for that. We're riled for the Ripple Rip. So really, really looking forward to that. And the only other thing I was going to mention too,
going to Atlantic City as soon as that happens.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Ready for that one. That's for sure. Dodgers, big loss yesterday. In terms of a key player, Mookie Betts.
I saw it.
Wrist. And the thing is, he doesn't need surgery. But
Did the pitcher do it on purpose?
No.
I don't know. It's just an accident.
Accident.
Good.
But I mean, he'll probably be out 3 months. So obviously, you still have Freeman, you still have Ohtani, you still have Will Smith. We get it. But that's a big blow. So it'll be interesting to see. The Dodgers, despite being 15 games over 500, have definitely been inconsistent this year. So we'll see how they do without Mookie Betts for an extended period of time. And that's really what we have with baseball. But it's time for Michael's favorite topic, the world of the National Basketball Association.
The Bulls go! LeBron James at the buzzer! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Yes.
And we're back. It's game 5 tonight. TD Garden. The Celtics are coming off an embarrassing loss on Friday. They go with the extra off day between game 4 and 5. They lose 122-84. Luka answering the critics, 29 points, 3 steals, playing steals all over the court.
All over.
They led by 13 after quarter 1. They almost doubled up the Celtics in quarter 2. It didn't lose a quarter the whole game. Outscored them by 6 in the third quarter and 6 in the fourth quarter. So great game for them. And you look at the Celtics in this one.
Dude, Tatum stinks. Dude.
Tatum,
this whole series, dude, and the playoffs, he's.
And even Jaylen Brown didn't have a good game. 3 for 12. Overall, as a team, they only shot 36.3%. We're just giving up shots, left and right to Dallas. 15 3-pointers, 40%. You look at Dallas here. Luka had the 29, Kyrie had 21, and then their bench, you had 3 double-digit scorers. Hardaway, Lively, and Exum. Dante Exum from Australia, still in the league.
Dude, remember when they were saying he's the next LeBron?
Yeah. There was so much hype for Dante Exum. And it's funny to see him playing in the NBA Finals here. But it is kind of tough. Like, I know, we were talking pre-show, and it seems like you feel pretty good about the Mavs making history, making the comeback, this 100%. And that. But it's I feel like I'm not there yet. I want
tonight. You'll be there.
It.
You'll be there tonight.
And for you, I mean, is it literally like you were kind of alluding to that just because of the way that they won? In game 4, that's just a sign of things to come.
Yes, almost as if they figured things out, Barnes.
I think for me, I'm gonna need to get to game 7 to feel that. But I mean, obviously, so I guess that's
that doesn't count. What about after tonight? That's a 20-point win.
20-point win.
Going back to Dallas.
Yeah. I guess you know what though. I guess tonight is a swing game.
Like really. Tatum, Brown, both stink it up again.
Because you think about teams coming back and stuff, and there usually is a point where you see it. I don't think you point to game 5 or point to game 4. But I think, game 5 on the road, especially, that would be some big momentum. And, you have all these Celtics fans counting the championship already, which I get because no team has done it. And I'm trying to think too, was there anybody that was close, especially NBA Finals wise, that was 3-0? I don't even remember a team forcing a game 7.
It said that only 4 teams in history won that game that we just saw.
Game 4.
Yeah.
Wow. That is kind of crazy.
So it's probably, they lost the next game type stuff, a lot of them.
I just really, it really would just be like, what a story. And also too, I mean, it just seems like all these things that, we said, weren't going to happen, this and that. And then we've seen them happen. So it just feels like, this is the next domino to fall. You think about like the NCAA tournament, the 16-over-1. You think about the Cavs with the 3-1.
It's law of averages, baby. Like someone has to do it.
Unfortunately, the Red Sox over the Yankees, that was another example. So we've just seen it happen. And it's like, history is meant to be broken. I really hope so, but I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to be realistic, and I don't know if Dallas is going to win tonight.
I could see Kyrie have a 40-point game tonight, honestly.
But but just from the
bench too, dude. They figured the role players have figured it out.
But what's the I get the offensive side, but what's the defensive strategy here that makes this
Luka
happen?
Just play 50% defense, cut him off in those first couple turns, and then we'll be there to help you out. That's the message. And he did it last game. I mean, they couldn't score on him, and if you're not getting by him laterally, those dudes can't, they're not creators.
Yeah.
Where's Tatum, shot creator? Kobe, where you at, buddy? What are you doing?
What went wrong there with Tatum? I mean, I know
he's just too in his head. He thinks he's Kobe, to the maximum, dude. It's crazy. You see the presser why aren't you happy? Job's not done. And then literally all the comments are like what would Kobe say? Literally word for word. He's a clown. I like Brown more than him.
But you really I mean, obviously there would be I can only imagine the feeling in Boston if they were to blow it. And it would be nice to kind of get back at them for 04. And I know it's a different sport, but I think it would be nice to see them on the other side of it. They're used to being on the other side, unfortunately, since that moment. So it would be nice to put them back in the other direction. And you really believe, though, tonight, too, is just going to be an easy blowout? Or do you think it's something that's tight and they pull away late or hit a game-winning shot? I mean,
no, I don't think it's a game-winner type thing. Maybe that's in Dallas to go to 7. But I really think a strong win in Boston, kind of a win that really scares people. Because people are like, oh, it's okay. But this will be 18 to 20 point win. Luka cursing at all the fans. Kyrie just walking off the court.
Wow.
Saying, see you in 7.
I really oh my God, I really want to see this. I really do. I hope we do.
We will.
So
and I can't wait to message Domac and Riley in a group text when they lose game 7 and be like, how does that feel?
Yeah, no, that honestly will be great. If you had to give a score prediction, what would it be?
I guess 105 to 88.
Okay, so 105-88. So it's the Mavericks plus 6.5, and it's the under. I'm gonna say the over, and maybe just because sometimes stuff works this way. I'm gonna say, unfortunately, Boston wins, but I feel like I'm, you know what I mean, Michael?
You want to be wrong.
I want to be wrong.
Yes. This is a pick. You're making it with your brain,
right? And
your heart is hoping that your brain is dumb.
And I want to say 110-100 Celtics. And hopefully I'm wrong. But that's gonna get underway 8:30 on ABC. And we'll see what happens. So hopefully we're talking about a potential Game 6 in Dallas. But if we could, let's go to the world of the National Hockey League.
Speed, here he comes. McDavid shoots, top shelf, he scores! Captain with the overtime winner! That's the middle, quick, hit counter. It's a world-class hit right here. Tomsky stepping, rink Wellington made the full split save.
Are you kidding me?
Turn, side of the net, between the legs, and they score! Filthy! David Pastrnak, the silver trophy to the Golden Knights.
Right. And I know, and it is good that Tony's not here for this because I know right away he's not going.
Yeah.
But I really still think it's just meant to be Connor McDavid, the bright lights. He wants to get out of Canada. And I know Tony do you think it's as simple as because I recommended it a while ago, he just doesn't instantly, he just thought it was a little ridiculous and is just going to hammer that home for the rest of the time until it happens.
Correct.
But it just seems like, the Rangers and McDavid, they need each other. And listen, I mean, it was a great game on Saturday. But unfortunately, the Oilers here find themselves in the same predicament, as the Dallas Mavericks, where they need to win 3 games in a row and start on the road. And of course, Tony, we're talking shit about the Mets, doesn't say anything. Now he goes, he's not going. Ha 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 ha. You think Tony's had any Sambuca this morning, Michael?
He just messaged me a photo of me saying, "You look just like me."
Oh,
so probably.
My God, that's so funny. And then how about Matthew Ryan says, how about the Mets? Anthony Material, how about the Mets? And then for real, dude, don't hold your breath. And then Matthew Ryan saying, need McDavid. So it seems like he's siding with me on that one. But let's just say he didn't need anybody on Saturday. But like I said, I don't know, just the circumstances there.
Broke Gretzky's record.
8-1. 8-1.
Where was this?
This was in Edmonton.
No, but where was this?
Oh, I know exactly. I think maybe just Florida kind of coasting and then Oilers just nothing to lose, just going for it. So maybe the aggressive nature. But they score 3 in the first, 3 in the second, and 2 in the third. And get goals from McLeod, Holloway, Nugent-Hopkins, Nurse, McDavid. And Holloway actually had 2 goals in this one. Henrique had 1, and Janmark. And we had talked about, portending Stuart Skinner with a hot run earlier this year, 32 of 33. And the Florida had played such good defense. They have to have Brovsky pulled 11 of 16 shots. So obviously an opportunity tomorrow, which we'll preview with Tony back about that game, but have an opportunity to still win the cup then. But it would be something too. And it's like, I want to say this happens, but again, I don't think it will, Michael, but just if we get the 3-0 hockey comeback at the same time, like that would be after the finals and for both leagues seems so bad for that to happen would be absolutely insane.
You'd be riled. You'd be engaged watching.
The only thing that's just tough with that though, is then
the Rangers
with McDavid, I'm saying, cause then it's like, I feel like that delays McDavid coming. But then Tony was arguing.
I mean, it didn't delay. What's his name? Messier.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
Gretzky. Yeah.
They left it. They didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like I don't owe you anything.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. But I still think like it happens quicker without him winning because what's every player do? They want to win.
I don't know. Does it?
I kind of think so because I like what you just said.
What if it happens longer though, and he's just like stubborn and it's like I'm gonna win one with them? Like what's his name on Washington?
Oh, Ovechkin.
Yeah. Like we don't want that.
I know.
You want him to win one, and then it's like I'll play out my contract, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah. No,
and I'm going to the Rangers, and then I'm gonna be a GOAT because Gretzky couldn't do it, and I will.
So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that situation plays out, and we'll do our.
Tony just doesn't want championships. That's what it is.
Yeah,
he wants the Rangers to like have a shitty team and struggle.
No. I know what it is. He just has a very tough time, and he does this with the Mets too, of letting go. Like, sure, he has a breaking point with a player, then he wants him to go. Sure. But there's certain guys like, you know what I mean? Like even Alonso, like, and he says like, oh yeah, they're probably the right thing not to give him the extension, this and that. But deep down, he wants that lifetime Mets contract. He'll pay him $400 million. just to keep him in town. I guarantee it. Same thing with Lindor. They could eat half the contract.
Matthew, what is Matt? Oh, he's a Devils fan. That's right.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here.
He's jacked up, but a little too jacked up, of course. But yeah, I just think with the Rangers too. I mean, you've seen it. You've watched the games the last couple of years. Like, it's like, how could anybody debate, argue the fact that it's like this group has had a lot of chances and you got to juggle some things around. And sure, key pieces like Igor, like Chris Kreider are going to stay, but guys that have come up short, like Artie Panarin and Jacob Trouba, how could you argue that they wouldn't be better off being shown the door?
You can't.
Yeah. Especially Panarin, because I just feel like, I mean, how much more value is he going to have? I know like the postseason was rough, but he had almost 50 goals this year. You would think you could get a lot for him. He has a high, price contract. Josh B getting in the mix here, and he says, "How are those Devils?" That is the real comedy. And then Matthew Gabriel with a muchachos, hola. So he's obviously fired up as well. But it'll be interesting to see. But kind of looking ahead, and I'll officially say it tomorrow, but wouldn't be surprised if the Oilers just blow it tomorrow. Unfortunately, I would like to see the comeback there as well.
No, it's coming,
but
dude.
I think both. Like I said, because I feel like I've just seen the scenario so many times before, wanting to get excited, and then it's like, oh yeah, 20 points, 5 goals. Like it does happen though.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Ryan trying to defend the Devils, who have made the playoffs like once in the last 20 years, says they lost to the Devils last year 7. But like that was last year. This is this year. It's about what you're doing going forward. They just fired their coach, new coach in place. Like there's a lot of questions, Matthew. So let's just not get too riled.
Yeah, he's definitely too riled.
But have you, I know we're kind of going back here for a second, but I was just thinking about this. Have you been like dialed on all the finals games pretty much, or
for NBA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you, have you enjoyed it, or was like the margin like?
No, I've enjoyed it.
Even when
I haven't
it's
watched.
not close.
Yeah. I haven't watched. Dude, it was great last game.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? I was juiced up. Like, golly, dude.
I can only imagine how many one-liners JJ Redick tried to throw out there.
He's so annoying. I can't.
Is he going to coach the Lakers?
Go ahead. Be a loser.
Do you think though that he is?
If he does, it's like they're not going to win. He's not like what do they think he is? Like
the next Steve Kerr, I guess.
Jerry West said it perfectly. What has he done? Nothing.
Wait, but Jerry West, who did he say that?
About JJ Redick, because JJ Redick was talking shit about they were playing against plumbers and shit back then, and Jerry West was like, "What has JJ Redick done?"
Oh, okay.
He's like, "I would destroy him."
What do you think about Matthew Ryan saying Zach Wilson might start in Denver? You got your team, LOL. Wow,
he's so funny. No, but dude, watch. I'm rooting for him, of course. Why not? Dude, kill it. If he does, I'm gonna send you a jersey, Matthew Ryan. I swear.
But you know what? The trouble I see there is Sean Payton. He just seems like
but
what do you mean he does tight though?
But is Zach not his little experiment of a 2.0 whatchamacallit?
But you know what it is? You're saying Drew Brees?
Yeah.
I just think Sean Payton hasn't won in a while. Last year was tough, especially after he called out the previous regime.
I know. I just could see it happening, dude.
Yeah.
Like karma, first of all, for Zach, that stuff comes back around. And say what you want, but he did handle New York well in terms of the press and this and that. So I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. I really do.
Are you?
The Jets suck, dude.
No, but I was just about to say. So now, like, you're back to like not being excited for the season.
Oh, I am. Super Bowl.
Okay.
Let's go. Definitely.
Did you think like the whole Rodgers thing was?
It's crazy, but I think he's doing it to like put on a show.
Really?
I really think it's all like. Doubt me. I want you guys to doubt me. Doubt me even more.
So you think it wasn't even like about like going to an event? It was about to just a subliminal message.
Yes.
Okay.
The Jets could have said anything. They could have all been like, all right, we'll just say that you're having some family thing, some personal reasons. But they told the truth, and like they're just basically saying, like, we got this.
And do you think that it like they botched it, or they were just kind of doing as instructed by Rodgers? Because it seemed like to me that they botched it.
They botched a lot of things. So
yeah,
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, like hard to really question that. But yeah, so that's really where we're at. And I'm going to be interested to see moving forward the Yankees, the catching position, what they do. Does Dallas have a shot tonight? I don't think so. I hope they do. And then what'll happen with this Oilers-Panthers series tomorrow. So an interesting time in sports. How do the Mets follow up the sweep? So all of that we will discuss tomorrow. But I have to say, Michael, I feel like this show just completely flew by.
I know. I can't believe it, honestly.
So another great show today.
791.
Let's go.
Today.
791, creeping towards the elusive 800.
Yep.
But that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, continuing to comment, like, and subscribe. All of the archives on the YouTube page, Tony, Michael, Renee, and Jay in costume, the merch at downtimetv.com. We want everybody to enjoy the day, enjoy the games, and we will see you mañana.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content.